One of the groups, and specifically one of the people who are inundated right now with stuff that is, I think, incredibly important and relevant to both you and I as American citizens, is the group is called Judicial Watch. And President Tom Fitton joins me. Good morning, Tom. How are you, buddy?
Hey, good to be with you, sir. Good to meet you in person finally, or at least on the phone.
Yeah, virtually. I'm obviously a huge fan of your work and what you guys do at Judicial Watch. I played a soundbite earlier, Representative Meadows and Jordan talking about the requests that they've been making over the past 18 months to our Department of Justice, and the rebuttal and the denial and the obfuscation of the rules that they've been witnessing and enduring from Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, the FBI, the DOJ. I was wondering if you could explain to me, when a private citizen or a group makes a FOIA request, what legally can the government keep from you, and what are you legally entitled to when it comes to requesting, by the way, FOIA is the Freedom of Information Act. I was wondering if you could kind of touch on that real quick.
Well, FOIA is an open records law, so the government's got to respond to you at the federal level, and states have their own sunshine laws as well, but they don't have to respond with everything they have. They can keep classified material, law enforcement material, your social security number, I don't want to see that, and private information like that. So there are a whole host of exemptions that the government can assert to keep records from being shown to you, and the question is, and that's the fight we get into in court all the time, is whether or not those exemptions are being rightfully employed and whether the secrecy is appropriate or not. And sometimes the courts open them up. And or in the case of these FISA records that we just received this week, or I guess late Saturday, the president had declassified the underlying material, so they really couldn't withhold it from us anymore.
To be clear, there are certain things that as a private citizen, I don't want exposed, as, confidential sources and undercover sources and people's private, personal social security number information. I get that. But what I'm hearing from Meadows and from Jordan, and I've heard from you guys as well, is, and I believe that it's not real complicated. The information they're trying to keep from you, there's a reason they're trying to keep it. And in the case of everything happening around this FISA warrant and the multiple re-ups that they signed, and with the authority and with the knowledge that this dossier was complete BS, they're trying to hide, I believe, criminal activity. And I wonder how far they can go, because it feels to me like you're getting stonewalled, and I'm sure you have been in the past as the government tries to. As we expose more and more of it, we understand how corrupt things are in D.C. and you're really kind of, for us as private citizens, one of our last vestiges of hope in being able to acquire information and find out why and how things are happening inside of our government.
Well, that's why we got to keep the pressure on, because the government holds a lot of the cards when we're in fighting with them in court for these records. So this is why the president needs to intervene to make the Justice Department and the FBI more transparent, especially on the illicit targeting of him and his campaign and people around him by the Obama administration, which frankly continued under the deep state into his administration. And so it's a big battle. Congress has certain powers. They're talking about impeaching Rod Rosenstein for refusing to turn over records. And, of course, the courts can also require the government turn over records. But it requires political, in the end, unless the president has people running the agencies who are committed to transparency and not to cover up, it's a difficult battle.
And that's a question I'd like to ask you. How much and what actually can our president do to intercede in here? Can he make something happen that you can't? Can he change the rules? Can he fix it so the groups you're requesting this information from are legally bound to give you things that they don't want to give you?
Yes, he can. He can do anything he needs to do to get the records released.
Okay. All right. So basically,
the only reason
really
we
simple.
would not declassify the information, especially in this Russiagate stuff, scandal, and we can get the records.
I got to believe that terrifies the Comeys and the Clintons and the McCabe's and the Obamas and the Rices and the Holders. That's got to terrify people like that. And I would wonder, let me ask you offhand, why wouldn't the president just step in right now and force that to happen?
Oh, I suspect he's being told he can't do it because of the interference with Justice Department, and they're playing the national security card with the president. And of course, the Mueller operation is keeping this a lot of this information secret as well, so he doesn't want to be seen as interfering with that. But I still think he should do it, and we've been encouraging the White House to do that.
And I agree. And let me ask you kind of I guess, a random off-the-wall question. Is there any fear in your mind or in your heart or in your head that if you were to get everything, I guess that what I'm asking is, do you think that there's something there that would be too much for the American people? Like overwhelming? Like, if you were to get, I'm using extreme, but if we were to get information that would find out that our Justice Department is corrupt from top to bottom and that they've been committing crimes for 30 years and whatever, do you ever worry about getting stuff that would that would be a tipping point? And because it feels to me like if we knew what we don't know, or if we knew half of what we don't know when it comes to companies and organizations like that, we would be, I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't be able to accept that truth.
Yeah, I think that this is about covering up corruption. American people can handle, it's likely wouldn't be surprised probably by a lot of the details of the corruption when it comes out. But it's the government bureaucracies and the politicians that we're running in that don't want to be held to account there, and they're more afraid than the American people.
I wholeheartedly agree. I got to tell you, I'm very open fan of what you guys are doing, because it feels to me like every time you guys head in a direction and make a request, it's done so, and I'm sure it is, it's done so with a lot of your own intelligence and recognition of where the holes and where the pitfalls lie, and where they're trying to move and shake and make sure you don't find out what you're trying to get knowledge for the American people. And I guess I would close by asking you this. I know this is an open-ended question, but where is this going to end? In my mind, if you could get to the finish line tomorrow, from a documentation perspective, what would you have in front of you to look at?
Well, one of the big things is the other part of this FISA warrant, where the Clinton DNC dossier was used to target Trump. There's other material that's been withheld that's probably just as bad as the dossier, and we'd like to see that. That's
where I'm at. I really believe that we need to, through you guys, we need to find out and see the other half of this stuff, because I don't have any reservations about the fact that something really, really bad happened, and it happened with a group of people who tried to rig a presidential election and turned around and accused the actual winner of the crime. And these documents, as you've shown us and gotten exposure to these documents, the stunning lack of legal action by our justice system terrifies me. And I'm also, I guess, one last thing. It feels to me like we've learned in the last 6 to 8 months that if the government chooses to destroy you as a private citizen, you don't actually have to do a whole lot wrong for them to do that, because they can do things that will never be exposed to the public. And that to me feels like corruption of power in ways that only Russia or China or Korea can do. Well, I mean, there are a lot more protections here. The fact is we have Judicial Watch, and that wouldn't be allowed in Russia, China, right, Korea, or frankly, England or France in any respect. So we have a lot more protections here. So it's not nearly that bad, but it can be pretty darn bad in the sense if you're covered, if you're the target of a federal investigation. It's a train that's pretty difficult to stop for any common citizen, that's for sure. Here's my problem. General Michael Flynn, who I don't believe has done anything wrong, his life spent in service of this nation was destroyed in pretty much 48 hours. And as I think we've come to learn over the last couple of months, not all is as it seems to be with General Flynn and what the left has said he has done. And I think maybe someday we're going to find out he didn't do anything wrong, but that's, I think, past the point. This guy's life and his legacy have been ruined by people that we're learning now are corrupt. Yeah, I think you're right about General Flynn, and it shows you you don't even need to be a common guy. You can be someone in a senior position in the White House and still be run over by abusive federal government bureaucrats. But, this is why we got to use the tools available to us as American citizens, and Judicial Watch does this as a group, and Congress needs to exercise its prerogatives to make sure that abuses like that are either exposed or don't occur anymore. Hey, listen, I know you're busy, but I sincerely appreciate you taking time out to join me this morning. Love to have you back, and keep doing what you're doing. Hey, appreciate the time. Thanks for covering us. All right, Tom, take care.